Alright, in this lesson we're going to take a look at completing the square. So, to complete the square in math, the reason to do it is the way to solve for x. You know a lot of different ways we can solve for x. We know how to factor, we know how to do the quadratic formula, a lot of different things. So our goal is to get a problem to look something like this. We want something squared equals something. It'll make sense a little bit while we want that. And remember, this x minus 4 squared is x minus 4 times x minus 4, right? We'll need that for later. So if I want to solve for x in this problem, I need to get rid of this squared term, and I get rid of this minus 4. So the first thing I need to do is get rid of the squared term. So we know that the opposite of squaring something is to take the square root. So those cancel out, and we get x minus 4 is equal to the square root of 25, which is 5. But we need to be plus or minus 5, because when we have something to the second power, we're going to have two answers. So a plus or minus 5 will work here. Alright. Then the last step to solve for x is we need to add 4 to both sides. So we get x equals plus or minus 5 plus 4. So we're going to have two different answers. We're going to have x equals 5 plus 4, and we're also going to have x equals negative 5 plus 4. That's where that plus or minus comes in. So we get x equals 9, and we get x equals negative 1. So those are my two answers that I can plug into this equation for x, and it'll work. Alright, so we're going to come back to that in a minute. We're going to learn now how to complete the square. And I brought a wizard friend to help us. So meet Gandalf. Gandalf's going to help get you through this. So our goal is to get the x values that make this equation true. Hopefully you're looking at this and be like, I've already learned how to solve these. I can do the quadratic formula on it. I can even factor it. Hopefully you can factor it really easily. And this will equal x minus 7 times x plus 1. So x will equal to 7, and x will equal to negative 1. Yeah? So we're not going to factor, although we can. We're going to learn how to complete the square with this problem. So Gandalf says the first thing we have to do is get the x's alone, so we better listen to him. If we want to get the x's alone, we need to move this 7 to the right side. So to do that, we need to add 7 to both sides, right? X squared minus 6x is equal to positive 7. Alright, so far so good. The next thing we need to do, this is where Gandalf comes in. He told me about this magic number. So we need to add a magic number to both sides. So our magic number that we're going to add to both sides comes from this minus 6. Alright? We're going to take the number that's in front of the x there, and to get our magic number, Gandalf tells me we have to divide by 2, then square the number. Square. Alright, so we're going to divide it by 2 and then square. So if I take negative 6 and I divide it by 2, I get negative 3. And then if I square negative 3, I get positive 9. So plus 9, plus 9. That's my magic number. Thanks, Gandalf. That we're going to add to both sides. The next thing it says to do is factor. So to factor this, we can use our little factor board over here. X squared, 9x, x. Let's see, this is going to have to be negative 3 and negative 3. Alright, so we get x minus 3 times x minus 3. And that is equal to 16. Alright, so x minus 3 times x minus 3 is equal to 16. And I know from earlier that this is the same as x minus 3 squared. So x minus 3 times x minus 3 is x minus 3 squared, right? And this is really easy to solve. We solved one earlier that looks like this. So if I want to get x by itself, I take the square root of both sides. That cancels out, and we get x minus 3 equals, the square root of 16 is 4. But we need two answers, right? So it's plus or minus 4. Then x is going to equal plus or minus 4 plus a 3. So x is equal to, if it's positive 4 plus 3, that'll equal 7. Or if it's negative 4 plus 3, that'll equal negative 1. So this is the same answers we got by factoring, but it took 10 times as long, right? So factoring's easier, always, if we can do it. But we are going to have to complete the square for some things later on this chapter, so that's why we're redoing it now. Don't worry, though. Gandalf has your back. All right, let's look at one more. Real quickly. So the first step is to get all the x's to one side. So I'm going to take this minus 6x and I'm going to move it over to the left side. So I need to add 6x to both sides. If you want to, you can pause it and try it on your own, see if you can figure this out. Alright, so my next step is to add my magic number. My magic number, I need to switch up colors here. I need to take this 6, right? I need to divide it by 2 and square it. So if I divide it by 2 and square it, I'm going to get the same number as I got before, aren't I? I get 9. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Equals negative 10 plus 9. Uh-oh, I see where this problem's going. Alright, so now the next step is to factor, right? So we can factor this on the left side. I know that this is equal to x plus 3 times x plus 3, and that's equal to negative 1. So x plus 3 squared equals negative 1. And we can take the square root of both sides, and I get x plus 3 is equal to plus or minus the square root of negative 1. Now we've seen the square root of negative 1 somewhere before. Hopefully some of you guys remember where we've seen the square root of negative 1, and you're probably cringing right now because you never thought you would see that again. But the square root of negative 1 is equal to I. So I get plus or minus I. Interesting. So now if we subtract 3 from both sides, I get x is equal to plus or minus I minus 3. Now the correct way to do this, to write this actually, would have this plus or minus after the negative 3. So we get x equals negative 3 plus or minus I. And this answer looks like something we would get from the quadratic equation. This problem actually we cannot factor. If I moved everything to one side, said x squared plus 6x plus 10 equals 0. And I tried to factor this. Put an x squared here, a 10 here, x and an x. 10 is only 1 and 10, or 2 and 5. And they'll never add up to that middle term, so we cannot factor this problem. So we could only complete the square on this problem, or we could use the quadratic formula. But right now we're just going to work on completing the square. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you in class.